Hey, so I'm regulating my watch a second time. Didn't record the first time. The Zodiac that I have, the Super Sea Wolf, out of the box was running a little bit hot, like about, for me, plus 11, plus 12. I regulated it once, turned it about a quarter turn with the swan regulator with a little tiny screw that's on there. I'll show it to you in a moment. And I got it down with a quarter turn. It seemed to, I didn't look at both sides, side up and down, so I wasn't sure what it was. But anyways, um, when I finished the first time, basically after a quarter turn, kind of let settle, uh, movement side up, back side up, right, case back up. It was showing pretty much zeroed out on the seconds per day. Amplitude has always been very good. Too high, 290s, 300s. The beat error is also not that far off. Either it's 0 or like this, 0.2. But yeah, so movement side up, it was basically zeroed, maybe about +1 sometimes. But when I flipped it over like this, dial side up, which is between the two, this is the more normal side that you're going to probably have when on wrist, right? It was showing about it's hovering around +2 or 3. So, and then basically wearing it for about 2 days. After I did that, I was getting a drop from about +11, +12 to actually a pretty solid +6, which isn't bad at all. But I think I could hone it in a little bit more. I want to get it maybe even half of that, maybe about +3, maybe at most +4 seconds per day, if not dead on. But we'll see. I don't want to mess with it too much more because you need to use this really tiny, you can even focus on this, screwdriver. This is a real specialized one that's really tiny and thin, and it's high quality because something this thin, you don't want the metal to be cheap, otherwise it'll probably distort and go bad pretty easily. You know, if this one, let's compare this to my normal jewelry, screwdriver. It's quite a bit smaller. I got this to deal with a special screw in the movement, I think on my Rolex one time. I was just kind of messing around. Forget what it was for, but I needed a very small one because I didn't have anything quite tiny or thin enough to get into the slot of like the flatheads that they use and some of the tiniest screws that they put in the movement. This one is, in case you're curious, Bergeon 0.50 millimeters. So this is pretty small. I think normally the smallest that these go are about 1 or maybe 3 millimeters. So this is like a normal size. This is one of the smaller ones, I think. So this is quite a bit tinier, and that's what you need to get into that screw that I'll show you in a moment for to adjust. So I'm going to flip this back up. See if we can show it to you. Focus. Focus. Jeez. I'm going to have to zoom in. See that tiny screw right there sticking out of that blue? The resolution might start to go crappy because I'm zooming up. See that right there? Inside the blue swan neck on the side, that's what you have to turn, and it's super small. I got to use my magnifying glasses that I have on my head right now to even see that with a light pointing at it. Maybe I had a brighter room, but anyways, right now, yeah, turn it about another 1/8 inch, or not eighth, an 1/8 turn, and before that, again, this was reading about +10. So this is about where I was hoping to get it down to, maybe about -3 or -4. Hopefully that translates to what my readings were getting on wrist. It's kind of hard to say, what this shows and what you actually get are different, because again, dial side up, or even whatever the other positions were. Like, let's see, what would it be if my wrist was down? I can't really simulate that. It's a little bit tricky. Let's see, would it be like this? This would be one position, kind of like that. Let's see what this shows. But I think if I can get this, I'm aiming for not 0, maybe plus. I didn't even do a measurement here, so these readings might not be meaningful to me. Plus 6. We'll see what it stabilizes at. But yeah. So I'm hoping to get, of course, as zeroed out as possible. If not, still in the positive gain, but maybe from plus 6, I'll be happy if I can get down to plus 4 or plus 3. I mean, ideally between plus 0 to plus 2 would be cool, right? Somewhere right around there. But I can live with plus 3 and plus 4 if I can get that just a bit lower. Yeah, I don't know what this is showing me really, because, you know, downside down. Let me do this again. I was getting, it was showing before plus, I think about plus, last time I checked today, just before adjusting it out, you know, I was checking it out just to gauge. It was about plus 2, between plus 2 and plus 4. I think it was hovering around plus 1 and plus 2, maybe sometimes jumped to plus 3. So maybe 1, 2. So if I could get it, if it works out, the math works out, I didn't have to do much. Again, I just did like a, you know, an eighth of a counterclockwise turn twist. Not clockwise, sorry. That screws the head in and makes the, slows it down basically. Pushes that needle, because that screws in, and then imagine that the needle's on the side of my finger. It will push it in more, and that slows it down. Yeah, so outside down. So ideally, I wanted to get it to show minus, I think from plus 1 or 2, which it was. If it works out, if I can get it to be showing minus 1, minus 2 downside up, I think that should be where I want to be, just to nudge it down. But it's really hard to gauge, you know. Movements are all different, and how they've been assembled and already possibly regulated, or if even balanced. If you even do that, it's not really cost, right? But there is some balancing still done to it, to some degree. Maybe not as stringent as a cost or whatever, but you know, it's not just randomly put in and that's it. You're good to go, right? They still have to tune it a bit. So, you know, all watch movements are done slightly different. And so it's hard to say what adjustments to the regulations will do. How does that actually translate? Does, like, I wanted to get it minus 4, you know, from plus 6 to down to minus 2 to plus 2, right? Does that actually mean that if I do that here, that actually means it'll happen when in practice and when I'm wearing it? Or does it, you know, maybe just a little bit actually translates to some higher degree of change? You know, I don't know what the ratio or proportion of adjustment to actual wear is, if you understand what I'm meaning. Because maybe, you know, trimming it down by 4 seconds may not mean when I'm wearing it, it's actually gone down from plus 6 to plus 2. It may go down only maybe it's not that much as I think. If I thought it was plus 4, I mean minus, or like subtracted 4 seconds from there, maybe it actually ends up being only like 1 or 2 seconds difference. So it's, you know, or maybe it actually makes a huge difference and I actually overshot it, and it's actually ends up being in the negative, running at minus 1 or minus 5 or something. Who knows, right? What the level, the proportion or ratio of adjustments to the regulation will actually do in practice. I hope that's getting through to you. I mean, you won't know. I don't think anyone really knows. Even a seasoned watchmaker will 100% know what their adjustment would do in real life, actual usage. This really comes down to you using it and figuring it out. So, I don't know. Does this mean it's stabilized? You know, I've been kind of moving around. So if it's been kind of stable here, I think this is about pretty decent. -1. I mean, I feel like I could just push it a little further, but I'm just kind of worried that maybe, like I said, the proportion of adjustment might be a bit great, and it might overshoot the mark a bit, and then I'm like, crap, I'm in the negative, and then I got to jump back in and kind of tweak it back, because I'd rather keep this thing in the positive. You can always hack the movement and then let normal time catch up, and then unhack it, and it'll be resynced again, right? Versus when you're in the negative, you got to reset, advance a hand and zero it out, and then wait for the next minute or whatever, right, to come along for you to just unhack it and sync it back. It's a little bit more of a hassle. Yeah, this isn't that interesting to look at. It's just I'm just trying to tell you what my thought processes are and how I'm doing this. So just one more look at this. I mean, it's 0, -1. It's kind of where I think I want to, I was hoping to adjust it by, so I think it's dropped roughly about -2 seconds or so from where it was hovering about, give or take a second or two, because you'll find that even though it's pretty stable, it's got good amplitude, and the beater is pretty decent. It can still see a sudden change. There, I tweak it a little more. Does it smidge it? Maybe. We'll see. I'll get back. I'm gonna have to splice this video together if I really do make a change and it's closer to where I think I want to be at. All right.